Hello, guys, and welcome back to the Say More podcast. I'm excited to be here because we have one of my favorite people in the world on this podcast. And I wanted to interview for you for ages, but I was like, let's let the Olympia pass, like all those things get past it, and then we will talk. We will debrief. And we have a special guest of Ria Gale, and so excited to have you. How are you, my girl?
I'm good. I'm good. Happy, always happy. Chilling. Yeah, I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, I'm excited to kind of go through things with you. People who don't know who you are and all that type of thing, give them a little explanation of what you're about, who you are, and we'll go through your whole journey in a second.
Hi everyone, I'm Ria, originally from London. I now live in Dallas, Texas. I Phoebe Figure Pro started in 2016, still going as of
Nice.
now. Just competed in the Olympia and settling into an off season.
Yes. And where did you, just to backtrack, where did you place at the Olympia this year?
Fifth,
Fifth place.
fifth place
Like,
this
we're gonna get into all of this later
year.
because I want to go through your entire journey, but like this is for people that have watched Ria's, journey, the upcoming and all that type of thing. This was only a matter of time, in my opinion. Like it was only a matter of time until it was going to happen. But the progress and the slow burning progress that you've had throughout the years, it shows that consistency triumphs everything. Like when it comes to bodybuilding, being consistent, keep showing up, and you will eventually get the results. Like you're the
Absolutely,
pinnacle of that.
absolutely.
So exciting. Oh, so proud of you. So, okay. So let's get into kind of just your journey as a whole. So obviously the normal basic question, how did you get into bodybuilding?
So I was a competitive diver for Great Britain from 2008 until 2016. And it was like the February of 2016, I decided to step away. And I was like, I need something because as an athlete all my life, it's like, what do I do now? How do I be normal? So I started my first job in a gym, and a girl that I worked with, she competed, and I was like, oh, this is interesting. I'd never like really trained in a gym before, so I went to a show, and I was like, this is something I feel like I could try, and it'll give me something to like work towards, and it would be different from diving because if I didn't want to do a competition, there'd be no pressure. There would be always another one the following weekend or whatever, and it would just be a way that I can work on myself in a different way. Um, So I was like, okay, let's give it a try. I found like a local coach and I was like, so what do I do? What do I need to do? And I kind of like winged everything and I'd done my first show in July of 2016 and I never looked back.
Yeah, that's so incredible. I mean, that's really, firstly, really cool. I obviously knew this anyway, but I love that you were a competitive athlete before you got into bodybuilding. So I like most of the time it's a case of like people, getting into the gym, they want to see and the next progression is
Yeah,
bodybuilding, but you are
yeah.
already an athlete. So like, I mean, what was that transition like from obviously being a diver to bodybuilding? I know obviously you said it didn't feel you didn't have as much pressure at the beginning, but what
Yeah.
was the difference?
So I think one of the main reasons I left diving was because of my mental health. So trying something new, the like talking about pressure, there just wasn't any. Like with diving, it's you and the board, and like things can
Yeah.
go wrong on show day or competition day
Showdown.
because everything is kind of out of your control. If you land slightly wrong, your dive's going to go wrong, and everything that you've practiced all year can
Yeah.
just disappear like that. But with bodybuilding, it was like all of my hard work is leading up to a day, and then I just have to show it off.
Yeah.
Whereas with diving, you can practice as hard as you can, but then whatever the variables are on competition day is how it goes. So it was just
Yeah.
like a different process that I kind of fell in love with and gained more confidence through.
Yeah. I mean, that's really interesting to hear you like obviously say that because you think it's the same. Because in my mind, I was like, oh, it sounds the same, but when you explain it like that, I was like, oh, actually, that is quite different because there's like you said, there's things that could go wrong. You could
Yeah,
be slightly off. You could do, and again, that's the same with bodybuilding. You can be slightly
yeah,
off, but you're still
yeah,
gonna show off your progress of those
yeah,
few weeks, you know, or
yeah,
the however many months that you've been working towards.
yeah,
So
yeah,
that's interesting. I mean, that's really cool that you kind of stepped away and were like, right, I need something, but I need less pressure. I need to enjoy
yeah,
something more. And like
yes,
bodybuilding was that kind of like savior, which is cool.
yes,
That's really, really
yeah,
nice. So
yeah.
moving forwards from 2016, you then went into your first show, bodybuilding. How did you then kind of go, I guess your first year, like how was your first year of bodybuilding? Like what did you find and learn, I guess?
It was, I probably up until this year, I found that everything kind of went very quickly. So I done my first show, and then in July, and then a week later, I done another show and qualified for what was then the British. So then I done the British, and then I started the following year because that's when Two Bros came around.
Yeah.
17, and there was more avenues to try and go for a pro card. So we kind of like switched up a gear and was like, okay, let's look at different shows and what we can do. And it was just like everything felt fast tracked, but I was kind of ready for it because of previous experience with like competitions and being an athlete.
Yeah. You were kind of prepared, like pre-prepared already for it to be not
Yeah.
chaos, but just fast pace. And then
Yes.
you're like, okay, cool. This feels normal. This feels like
Yes.
home
Yeah.
because I'm used to it, but in a good way.
Yes. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that. I really like that. Can we talk about the fact that the British, like to anyone obviously listening, back in the day of between, I mean, it was probably obviously way before we started competing. Like we both started competing in
Yeah.
2016,
Yeah.
but between 2016 and 2018, or
Yes.
2018 was the year it started
That
to come about,
everything.
but yeah,
Yes.
2016 and 2017 we did something called the British in the UK, and even before 2016, it was called the British, and it was this one show a year to get a pro
Hmm.
card. And people were like, "Oh, at least you get one show a year." But no, I'm talking you. It was as a what you had to do was that you won your class,
Hmm.
you then win the overall,
Yep.
and then you have to win overall woman to then
Yes.
get your pro card, wasn't it?
Yes. Yes.
Like I still say that story to so many people and people don't believe me. They're like,
Oh my
that's
God.
surely there's no way. And 2018 was the first year where it was like there was more opportunity to get a pro card,
Yes.
an IFBB pro card. It's
Yes.
crazy.
Yeah.
So looking back on that now where we both went through that era, that's kind of like wild. It's always
Yeah.
it's always fun to look back at that time because I'm like, how did we even get to that, like get from there to here now? Do you know what I mean? Like it's
Yeah.
mad.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And they would
Yeah.
only do two a year, just one man, one woman.
Yeah, only two pro cards a year is in the whole of UK, which is pretty
Hmm.
crazy. So anyone that's listening that's not from the UK, you probably, and even people from the UK don't even know that kind of like, I guess, avenue and journey. But
Yeah.
it's grown a lot since then, and we have obviously Two Bros, the IFBB for making thanking them for it becoming so much more vast now, which is amazing. So, and then fast track, we both got our pro cards in the same day, which I still love. I remember
Yes.
that day so vividly. When I look back on it, I'm like, oh, that was so good. So from that, like beforehand, was
Hmm.
your goal always to get a pro card? Or was when you entered bodybuilding, was it a case of, I just want to see where this takes me, like whatever happens, happens? Or was it like, no, I want my pro card?
So my goal, even like, I always sort of bring everything back to this day, is always the hard work is done. Let's see what happens. Everything is out of my control now. Let's see what happens. So, and I've kind of always been that person. Obviously, stepping forward, the goals change. But from my first show, it's always been, I would love to get this, but this is where I'm at. Hard work is done. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. I love that mentality. And I think we both agree on that quite vastly. We've had many conversations about this, like, especially growing in the industry now, and obviously where you're at in the industry and stuff like that now, it's very easy to get carried away and be like, I want to do this, I want to do that. And yes, obviously you want to do that, but there's also other things that you can't always, like you said, control. And
Yes.
I personally feel like, yes, I have, goals in my head, but I like to keep myself nice and steady and say, whatever happens, happens. So yes, expect things because I want, I have goals in mind, but I also don't expect things to happen. So it's not a shock when it doesn't happen,
Yes.
because I'm sure there's been many times for you as well where you've been like, right, I want to win, I want to do this. And then obviously, yes, it doesn't happen. And it really does affect you mentally as an athlete, because you're like, okay, cool. Maybe I'm not good enough for this. Maybe I'm not for this. And it's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's hard. So, but we've always agreed on that point. And I think it'll be really interesting. I think it's always interesting to see that, because nowadays it is very much like, manifesting and putting stuff out there in the world and saying, I want to win, I want to win, I want to win my pro card, I want to win my pro show, all those types of things. And I think that is good to do. Do you agree? Do you think that is a good thing to do, is to like say, yes, I want
Yes.
this?
Yes. And it doesn't have to be two people. You can like write it down, but just don't be a little bit of like where no more fear, no more doubt comes from. Don't be scared to aim high, because you never know what can happen. So kind
Yeah.
of be confident in your goals, set those goals high, but also have that realistic expectation and have like little wins across the way. So bringing your best package. That way you've done everything you can. And with bodybuilding, everything is literally out of our control. So we can say we want to win, but if we don't, still take away that this is the best you've ever looked, or the best prep you've ever had, or little things like that.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree. I think as you grow up in bodybuilding as well, you do realize that more and more. You're like, I can't say, you can say before, this was the best I've ever looked, I'm really happy with the shape. And if you
Yeah.
don't get the result you want, it's very easy to be like, I tear myself apart. I don't like this. I don't like that. Da, 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 da. But before, you were saying you loved your shape. So stand by what you say and be proud of it, regardless of the result before you step on stage. And then if the result comes, amazing. It's the cherry on top of the cake. It's not the be all and end all, though, I feel sometimes. So
Absolutely.
I'm glad we agree on that, though. We've always agreed on that. I feel like we've always had so many conversations about that. So, okay. So then moving on to winning your pro card. Obviously, I want to talk about the fact that you won your pro card in fitness and you went into figure the next day. So let's tell this story. So what happened on the day of your pro card winning?
So I came second in my class for figure, which meant that I didn't go on to the overall. And the overall, there was three, so they all got their pro cards. But I did actually do fitness because prior to diving, I was a gymnast. So my coach at the time, we were like, let's just do a crossover. What do we have to lose? And like, I loved
Yeah.
bodybuilding. I was like, this is more stage time. This is fun. And then we got the awards, and it was like, okay, I got my pro card. And then I want to say it was, we weren't sure if I'd got my pro card actually.
Yeah, I
So
remember.
I was in the venue, I was eating sandwiches, I was eating
I remember
sorbet,
this.
like, oh, I've had the best day, we're in Alicante, let's like, and then they were like, oh, actually, due to X, Y, and Z, you have won your pro card. And I was like, okay. And then the pro show was later that evening, and my coach was like, what have you eaten? I was like, everything. I was like, let's just do this and see what happens. The pro debut. And I ended up placing fifth.
Yeah, I remember that so vividly. And I remember why, because you were stood at the side of the stage with an ice cream. I remember that so vividly because I think I either got off stage, obviously, after winning my pro card or something.
Yeah.
I'd gotten off the
Yeah.
stage or whatever. I think it was actually before finals. So before, I think I'd done pre-judging and you were by the stage and you were like, oh my God, amazing, well done. And you had like a, something in your hand. I think it was sorbet. I think it was sorbet. And you were like, well done, so proud of you. Like, you look like you're getting your pro card, so excited for you. And then I remember, obviously, when the awards kind of came about, obviously, yeah, I got my pro card. And then I think, then they were like, no, I think you've got your pro card as well. This was before they did the everyone on stage for their big pro card picture. And then you were like, oh my God, amazing. And then, and then this pro show was literally like 2 hours later. So, and you were like, yeah, why not? I love that story because it just makes it so much funnier because you were like, you were just happy regardless. And that goes back to what we were literally just saying. You were so happy you just got second. It was the first, I think it was the first pro card. No, it wasn't the first pro card giving, was it? Internationally?
I want to say the first one was Muscle Contest Ireland, which was March or April. And then it kind of...
I remember that.
In.
Yeah. So, but it goes back to what we were just saying. Like, you were literally happy regardless. Like, yes, you got in second. You'd want to get your pro card, yes, and you still got it. But in your head, before you realized it, you were still happy. You were still happy. You were in Alicante, like enjoying the journey. And I think that's all it comes down to, in making sure that you can enjoy the journey as much as you can. Moving forward. So, I'm proud of you. That's such a great memory of like mine and like just the journey in general, because it was just so much fun doing it with you. So, it was so much fun. So obviously moving forwards from then Alicante, winning the pro card, then what did you do kind of moving forwards, going into your kind of pro season?
So we started the season November, where we'd done Romania. And I want to say that was the first year that was Romania. So it was kind of like, it's the first time being amongst the pros. There was Olympians that came in. I was like, okay, I was ready to be at the bottom of the pond again. And I think sometimes people forget that once you get your card, you become the best amateur, not necessarily the worst pro, but you've got to start from the bottom and work your way up. So I was ready to kind of just do a bunch of shows, enjoy the experience. So we done Romania in November. We took a bit of time into an off season ish. It wasn't very long, because I want to say we started again in February. And then there was 3 shows back to back, which was New York, Puerto Rico, and Toronto.
Yes, I remember that.
And I was like, I would always look at shows I would look at shows as, oh my God, it's the New York Pro, but not, oh my God, it's the New York Pro. I was like, oh, I've never been to New York before. So there's a show there, let's try. And like, oh, I've never been to Puerto Rico. That will be fun. So I was kind of like excited to travel doing what I love to do. So it was May. Went to New York, and that's where I saw like Jessica Reyes Padilla and like Nicole Graham, all these big names, even in like the 212 and bikini. I was like, wow, I was just in awe. Ended up coming third. I was like,
how did that happen? Yeah.
Okay, this is insane. The week after, flew to Miami and then went to Puerto Rico. That's where I met up with you and Max.
Yeah.
And we done Puerto Rico. Came third in Puerto Rico, and I was like, okay, this is crazy.
Let's go.
And then we flew to Toronto, and these were all back to back.
They were.
Absolutely insane.
I don't know how we used to do back-to-back shows. Like, honestly, I'm tired after 2, and I'm like, done. Like, we used to do back-to-back-to-back.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Yeah, to be young, that young again. That was literally 2019, though. That's like 5 years ago.
Years ago, yeah.
That's crazy. That's wild.
and we went on
That's
to
actually
Toronto.
wild.
I came fourth in Toronto. Um, and then I want to say it was like 8 weeks or like even 6 weeks. And there was another two shows because at the time it was points. It was the point system. So
Yeah.
we were like, let's see like what points we can get and just getting out on the circuit, picking up feedback from judges. From there, went back to the UK for like 6 or 7 weeks and then went to Chicago. Came fifth in Chicago. Week after, went to Virginia, came second, and that was when I finally got enough points. I think I was like second or third, or even first in the point system, and
Oh,
for the
nice.
Olympia that way on points.
Nice. Oh yeah, you did. Yeah, you went to the. That's just incredible. Like the amount of shows you did back to back. It won the point system. I think was good because it obviously maintained a smaller amount of athletes and all that type of thing. But it was
Yeah,
hard on the athletes. So I
it's
think
very hard.
then going from there into the Olympia that year, do you felt like you brought your best at the Olympia for 20? Was it 2019?
2019, I would say it probably wasn't my absolute best because I was so tired because that was 5 show 5 shows. Olympia was my sixth that year. But it wasn't terrible because I still
No.
got second call out and I want to say I placed 12th or
I think
13th.
you did. I remember because I was there. Yeah, I was there. I came with you. That was the year that we went to Vegas together. That was my first Olympia too.
Yeah, yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah, I remember because I remember you got 12th. I remember that
Mhm,
because
mhm,
you were very happy with that as well because you were basically just off center for the
mhm,
second call outs, I
mhm,
think, which was
mhm.
like for the first Olympia as well. That's
Yeah,
insane. Like
yeah.
so good. So
Mhm.
good. So, and you've done how many Olympias have you done now? Four, five,
I've done 6 Olympias now.
six. Oh my God, how has that
Yeah.
gone? That's come around so quick. Like, there's
Mhm,
been so many all back to back. So, six Olympias. So, from your first Olympia, I'd say till now,
mhm.
what would you say is your biggest thing you've kind of like realized from doing all, so many Olympias back to back? You've done, because you've done six Olympias back to back, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you say is the biggest thing you've learned through doing all of them?
Anything is possible. Delayed gratification is a must. And like, don't doubt yourself
Yeah.
because I think sometimes it comes to the point where you work so hard to get to the Olympia and then you get to the Olympia and then it's disappointment in placings. And it's like you have to take a step back and be like, in the grand scheme of things, there's going to be thousands of people in their careers that will never qualify for the Olympia and they will only be able to be there as a spectator. So you kind of have to, in that moment, take a step back and realize where you are and how many greats have stepped on that stage.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I love that you said that because I know, everyone's journey when
Mhm,
they kind of, like we said before, backtracking it back, you
mhm,
go from amateur, you want to turn
mhm.
pro, you go from
Yeah.
pro, you want to go to the Olympia. Once you're at the Olympia,
Mhm.
it's like, where do I go from here? Do you know what I mean? Sometimes it can feel a little bit like not lost, but in a way, sometimes you're like, what's the goal here? Am I ever going to
Yeah.
be able to make it to the top? Am I going to get that top
Yeah.
10? Am I going to get second quarter? What am I going to get, And I think when you said, like, remember who stepped on that stage, like, you are one in literally, like, a 1% of people will ever step on that. Like, not even a 1%, but such a small amount of people will step on that stage.
Yeah.
It's such a huge
Yeah.
achievement. And the fact for you, you've represented the UK multiple years in a row at the
Mhm.
Olympia is absolutely incredible. And I think it's hard to forget that we actually, when we're up there, we're representing our country, Like you're
Yeah.
representing your country, whether you're from the US or from a different country or
Yeah.
from a UK or wherever, you're still representing. And it's so cool to say that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So cool to say that. So, I mean, amazing. Like, it's really nice to see kind of like your journey and how it's developed and stuff like that. And obviously, what would you say, as it's very random, what would you say is has been your favorite Olympia? In terms of, oh wait, not in terms of placing. So I'm going to rephrase that. Not in terms of placings and not in terms, I guess maybe in terms of prep, which one was your favorite Olympia? So going into the Olympia, mindset wise, physique wise, placings completely aside, because obviously I know you got fifth this year, so it's easy to say that one. But would you say prep wise, mentality, where was your best in terms of Olympia? Do you know what I mean?
So I probably have two.
Okay.
2020, because it was the journey of getting to the Olympia when I could have easily been like, do you know what? The world shut down. Let me
Yeah.
take a seat. But I escaped the UK.
You did.
I literally like
You had a crazy time.
the drop of a hat when Boris was like, "Yeah, we're going into another lockdown." I was like, "The Olympia's in 4 weeks. This can't be happening." So I literally flew from London to Spain, Spain to France, France to Cancun, stayed in Cancun for 2 weeks, and then flew to Florida for 2 weeks before the Olympia. So that was probably, and that was up until this year was probably the best physique I'd had in terms of like condition and everything. So to be able to
Yeah.
kind of do all of that and bring that, but then also this year, not only because it was the 60th, but with losing my stepdad in April, I was like, do I continue? Do I not? So it was, I kind of was fighting with myself, and I was like, but what if I could turn this around and make it something? So the thought of him kept pushing me forward.
Yeah.
So those are probably
Yeah.
my two favorite mindsets and preps leading into an Olympia.
Yeah. And that's nice because both times it's a very big step in your growth development that has made it the best prep. Do you know what I mean? Like you could have given up and you didn't,
Yeah.
and that's why they were the best. Like that from what it sounds like for obviously both of them, which is really lovely because I mean in anything bodybuilding is a very hard sport. I mean, all sports obviously are hard, but I feel like bodybuilding, especially because it mentally, physically, it's hard. Everything's
Yeah.
just hard, not just training, not just diet, it's mentally
Yeah.
all aspects. So the fact that you were able to kind of overcome that while still doing everything else, that shows like real love for the sport. Do you know what I mean? Like, and I love that you switched it around, obviously, and said like, this could be a negative, yes, but I'm going to use it as a positive and I'm going to come out fighting, which is great.
Definitely.
And that's
Definitely.
amazing. So I love that. I really love that. So, okay, insane. So now I want to get on to talking about this year, just in general, because did you do two shows this year or did you just do the one? I can't remember.
Just the one.
One show.
Yeah.
And you did
Just
that.
the one.
How many weeks did you do that before the Olympia?
8.
8 weeks before to get
Yeah.
qualified, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Yes. How did that prep go in general? How did that feel going into that prep? Did it feel like, do you feel, obviously you had a good amount of time off because obviously you did the Olympia previous, so that was in November.
That was in November. Yep.
Then how long did you have for your off season? Did you feel like you've made a good amount of progress in off season and stuff like that?
I did, but I'm one that struggles to see. I almost become blind in an off season where I
Yeah.
can't see myself. And I
Yeah.
will only be like 2, 3 weeks out. I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. So this is where it went, or like this is where it went. So I completely just leave it up to coach to be like, he manages to see what needs to be seen. But I think my mindset was very different after 2023 Olympia because placing improved. And I was like, I spoke to Tyler after Olympia, and I also done Texas State the week after to kind of getting judges' feedback at an Olympia is insane because there's so much going on. So it's like go
Yeah.
to that show, compete, and then be able to ask him and Attila for feedback in more of like a smaller
Yeah.
setting. And it kind of like lit that fire of, okay, this is what they want to see. So it really kind of pushed me, and that prep was hard this year, but it was okay, let's see what happens. Like, this is the work that we need to do, focus on the work, but let's just see what happens.
Yeah. And what was it that they wanted to see improvement wise from you?
Downsizing my upper body
Okay.
and, yeah, working on my legs. And it was sometimes feedback can be like confusing because I'd like look at myself and be like, oh, but X, Y, and Z is a lot bigger than me, but everybody's frame is different. So it can probably relate to bikini as well, where it's like, okay, my feedback is to say bring my glutes down, but then someone might have bigger glutes and you're like, why is that? But everybody's frame is different, and how certain muscle looks on somebody looks completely different. So with my upper, it made me look really big, and then coming to look at my legs was like, So my legs have always been my feedback, but it was now kind of bringing that balance and streamlining. So yeah.
Yeah. No, 100%. I think that's really, it's good that you said that in terms of like the feedback and stuff. So in terms of this applies for anyone. It's not just pros. It applies for literally anyone, amateurs, pros, and all that type of thing. It's really easy to say, for example, you need to grow your upper body. Sweet, I'm going to go ham on my upper body now and grow it a ton, where it could be just a small amount. Most of the time, the judges, they're speaking, unless they say you need to grow loads, they are literally meaning very small scale. Like, you need to get more conditioning. Don't come in absolutely peeled. Like, get a small bit of conditioning, a little bit by little. Same with muscle mass and all that type of thing. So it's tough though, because when you hear it, you're like, okay, cool, that's all I'm going to fixate on now until I next step on stage. But again, that's how you develop within the sport and how you get better in the sport is you take it in bit by bit, you slowly improve. And like you said, legs has always been your thing and you've slowly improved it. And now they're at a position where, you know, you got fifth this year. So it's like they were enough, you know? So that's super exciting to see. So, okay, so then going into this 2024 Olympia, I mean, prep in general, how did you feel with the feedback that obviously you got going into this prep?
I used a lot of visualization this prep of like how I wanted to look. And I normally use that anyway in terms of like, okay, my final package, I want my suit to look like, how I want my hair to look like, makeup, whatever. But this time I really used it for how I want to look. And I'd kind of take that into training sessions with me. And I think because of what happened this year, I had to just a lot more focus on making this the outcome that I can and like try to make him proud, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
But like,
Yeah.
I'm never not normally focused, but this was just trying something new and seeing how it went.
Yeah. And it was a different, from what it sounds like, it's like a different drive. Like when you're doing it for yourself, yes, we put in, we focus and all that type of thing. But when it's especially for someone that you love and care for, it's sometimes even more, you know, like I feel like sometimes it's a different drive. It's coming from a different type of love and you don't want to let them down. Sometimes it's easy to let yourself down and you know, like, oh, I need to do this. I need to be better at this. But sometimes letting out someone down, even though you would never let him down, you know that, but it's hard because you're like, it's that mental aspect. I love that though, that drive came from that because it came from a place of just passion and love from in general. So that's amazing. That's really amazing. And you definitely did him proud, which is incredible. So exciting. So, and then in general this year, so obviously you went from, what did you get last year? You got 7?
Last year was 7th. Yes.
7th. This year was 5th.
This year
So
was 5th.
yeah, this year was 5th. next, I say next year, I don't want to jump the gun too quick, but what is your mindset? What was your mindset going into, I know obviously we said before that, you know, you want to try and not expect things, but what was your mindset going into this year from getting seventh? What was your plan this year? Was your mindset, I want to get top five now because I've already got top 10? Like that was your first top 10, wasn't
Yeah.
it?
That was my second top 10. My
Second.
first top 10 was 2020.
Okay, yes. Nice. And then going into this year, what would you say your mindset was going forwards from that, from progression wise? What were you thinking in terms of going up?
I was, one of the biggest things was hearing that feedback, um, and was kind of like, with how this journey has panned out, I've always had people saying, "Oh, I could see you doing this. I can see you here. I can see you here." And I'm like, the judges are wanting to see a certain something from me before I can reach that. And that's something that I've always been okay with because it's bodybuilding, not body built. There's always room for
Yeah.
improvement. So, and that's where I was talking about delayed gratification. So, going into this year, I was kind of like, okay, they're serious on bringing down the upper body. Let's really sort of focus on that. And I was kind of thinking, like, what if? But the goal was get back into that top 10 with a better package and see what happens.
Yeah. I
So
like that.
that was kind of my goal of either getting back into that top 10, improving that package, giving them what they want to see. And if I come seventh again, that's still a win because the package is better.
Aha. Yeah. 100%. Because you're not then focusing. It's so easy. And I love that you said that. And the reason I asked was because I wanted to see if you were like, I want to get top five, I want to get this. And
Hmm.
the reason you didn't say that is because you wanted to improve the package, not the
Yes,
placing. And I
yes,
feel like it's really easy in any aspect that we always focus on the placing versus
yeah.
versus the physique. And
Hmm.
it's so easy because I'm the same. Like for me last year, I
Hmm.
didn't obviously get into the top 10 and it destroyed me. But I also, when I look back, I'm like, I still was happy with the shape. So why am I letting it destroy me? And I've had many conversations with other people, and we've had conversations before about placings and how it's make us feel as athletes. But again, it takes, like you said, going back to the delayed gratification, and just
Yeah,
gratification in general for what you've
yeah,
brought to stage is very
mm,
important, and being happy with what you've taken.
absolutely.
I love that. I love that you said that because like it's again it's really easy to be like I wanted to get this, I wanted to get that.
Mm, mm,
And what I've noticed from having conversations with all these people, all people that are successful and are doing well, is they say the same thing. They say the same thing. They're not
mm,
looking at the placings. Yes, they want to win. Of course, we get
yeah,
into this because we're competitive and stuff, but it's not the only thing they're in it for.
definitely. And it's 20, the year 2021 kind of taught me that because that is the Olympia that I was like, what just happened? And it was,
Yeah.
the journey was pretty much similar. I had to go to Dubai for 2 weeks, and that's where I stayed at your place for 2 weeks before I could
Yeah.
fly to the States. And then my visa kept being cancelled because of COVID, like the day that I was
I
meant to
remember that.
fly. So I was going through everything, and I was like, do you know what? I'm here. I'm still competing at the Olympia. But that was like the worst placing I've ever had in my career. I
Yeah.
came third call outs. I was I was 16th somewhere.
Yeah.
And I
The Sea of
was like,
16, we like to call it.
like I was in the sea of 16, and I was just like, do you know what? And I think it was actually Joe Pascula that said to me, like, Ria, what happened? And I was like, I don't know. I think it was that was the year that I kind of just let everything get to me, like the hardness of the journey and like just what everything had been, and put the pressure on myself because 2020 I came ninth, and I was like, but I after that Olympia I kind of took a step back, and I was like, it's almost like my arc. This is my Olympia arc. I'm gonna rise from the ashes from this and not let that happen again. And mostly that was my mind, like my mindset was off, which then reflected in everything. And I was like, no matter how anything gets now, I'm not going to let my mindset set me back.
Yeah. 100%. And I love that you mentioned that part of your journey, because I think it's easy to see, oh, you've won or you've done this, but the struggles you go through are what make the journey even better. Like the fifth place, I think if you went from, say, for example, you got your pro card and you went straight to fifth place, yeah, it was amazing, but how much character building, how much, have you learned within the last, 9 years now, 8 years of competing, up and down, up and down. I know, crazy. Up and down, up and down.
Yeah.
And now you're getting to that pinnacle point. Like you've got top 5 in the world, which inside, mind blowing. And none of that would have been possible with all these downs and ups. And that's incredible. That really is incredible. So I think everyone goes through those times in their journey where they are going to hit a low point, I think.
Absolutely.
And it makes the journey, like I said, makes the journey better, and it makes you appreciate like everything you're doing, that you've risen, and like you said, rising from the ashes and stuff. And it's amazing to think about, So I think that's really good that you didn't let that set you back, because it could easily allow anyone to set you back and be like, cool, not competing again. That was awful. Hated that. Like not doing that again. But that bodybuilding, again, like you've said before, it's bodybuilding. Nothing's guaranteed. And it's a case of you just keep showing up, and you have to show up for a different reason other than winning.
Yes.
Love that.
Absolutely.
So as much as we say that, moving forwards now, obviously the goal has always been you want to bring your best shape. Like you want to bring your best, and you want to see what happens obviously with that. But now obviously you've gotten that, the 5th place spot. Is there anything that's changed within your goal, or is it always this? Is it still the same?
I think the goal hasn't changed, because even with coming top 5, coming 5th, that isn't certain. I've seen people throughout, like even just watching the Olympia before I started competing, how much that top 5 can change. So not quickly moving on to the next goal. I'm very much sort of sitting and taking it all in, but I know that it's not guaranteed, but I still have to keep working. But the one thing that I really did take away from coming 5th was almost like, I can do this. I shouldn't be so... I'm a bag of nerves at competitions. Whether it's a qualifier or the Olympia, I am a bag of nerves. But it kind of like taught me that I can. I shouldn't be so like, not afraid, but just like doubt myself so much.
No more fear, no more doubt.
Yeah, so
No
that
more
was
fear,
like
no more doubt.
takeaway from this Olympia of, we can keep climbing. Obviously, we need to continue to work on the feedback that I got this year as well, but there is opportunity out there to keep on climbing, but as long as I keep on working on my package.
Exactly. And again, a champion answer in terms of how you're looking at perspective of things. The perspective is always the body. The perspective is always improving yourself. If that then comes with a higher placing, amazing. That's, like we said, the cherry on top. And like I said, that mentality has gotten you to this point, and it's only going to take you further. And I think for anyone that's listening, this type of mindset, I think, is probably, I also feel like the healthiest mindset, because you're only then thinking about yourself. Yes, obviously we want to put out there in the universe that we want to win and do this, but I think at least you allow yourself you know what to expect with yourself. And I think, like there's nothing then put on, I don't know what the word is, but like nothing's put on, not hold, but nothing's kind of, on, I guess, on standby. You're literally just doing it for you. You're working towards you, and you can expect that. And I think that's great. That's really, really great. And that's what you always want to try and do in bodybuilding, you know?
Absolutely.
So, it's been so amazing catching up and talking to you, honestly. One final question before we wrap it up and finish. Obviously, you are, we're both UK born and bred.
Yes.
You've obviously moved to America now and you're in the US.
Yes.
And one question I always get, obviously, I'm not in the UK anymore, and obviously, I'm in Dubai, but I travel to the US a lot and all that type of thing.
Yeah.
Do you
Yeah.
feel like your environment has had a good impact on your results as a bodybuilder and a competitive athlete?
I will say absolutely. And not just being in the States, because, for example, 2020, which was like a crazy year for everybody because of COVID and lockdowns. But I remember I was training at King's Gym and I would see James every day. We'd always train at the same time. And just like that year, I brought my best to the Europa Pro, and that was my first pro win. And like at that point, my best Olympia placing. But like, say for example, 2021 and 2022, I was kind of like back and forth, and then 2022 moved to the US and was in Orlando. But the like gym environment I was in was
Up and
not
down.
very up and down. So I definitely think you're a product of your environment. And like this year, I'm working at Sarah Viegas' gym, so around now 4-time Miss Olympia, and it's helped me elevate my mindset and like my levels to, oh crap, like this is how she lives every day. This is how a champion is every day, like adopting little things from that. So I definitely think you're a product of your environment no matter where you are. So if you're in the UK and like you bodybuilding, 90% of the time we're in the gym. If your gym has like drama or like, you know, it's super crowded or like you're not really getting, I know we're there to work out, but again, environment is everything. Try and find somewhere that you can, even if it's like you're the only person in the gym at that time, you have that focus. So I think you're definitely a product of your environment.
Yeah, 100%. And I like that answer, and I love that answer, honestly, because like you again, you're the result of it, like I don't think, I think regardless, even if you were in the UK, and I think you would have adopted who you were around and only been around the people that you needed to be around. And I think that happens anywhere. Do you know what I mean? And I think it's easy to let that slip.
Yes.
Because of, I don't know what else have you, but it's sometimes hard to control that environment. But like you said, a case of just making sure that you're around people. I think people is a huge factor.
Yes.
Like your circle needs to be everything. And then I do think gym, like you said before, gym environment is also everything, because that's where you are all the time. Like, so it's a case of, and then your home, making sure that your home is somewhere that you feel comfortable and all that type of thing as well. Like it really does make a difference. And I think even outside of bodybuilding, like not even in bodybuilding, it makes a huge difference. So, oh, I love that answer. Really, really good answer. Well, Rhea, it was lovely talking to you. Honestly, one, I loved catching up because I haven't spoken to you for so long. So it's been nice to actually catch up.
Yes.
And it's been really lovely to have you on. Is there anywhere that people can find you, contact you, and all that type of thing for any services that you have or anything at all?
Instagram is probably the best way to get in contact with me. Ria Gale, 2 A's in the Ria. But yeah, I just want to say thank you so much for having me on this podcast, and thank you so much for creating a space for athletes to come and talk. And
Yeah.
yeah, I love what you're doing with it. Absolutely love what you're
Oh, thank you. It means a lot. Like it's nice, one, because I get to talk to all my friends, honestly. And two, it's just nice to hear their stories, because a lot of people, I mean, I've obviously known you for years and stuff, but some athletes that I've spoken to before, I've known them for a couple of years, but not their reasons why they come into bodybuilding and all that type of thing. And it's just nice to get to know people on a personal level and know their whys and all that type of thing. So that's why I wanted to share your story, of course. But yeah, thank you so much for having, for coming on. If you guys have any questions for Rhea, please comment down below. If there's any other topics you want to hear from me, please comment down below as well. Make sure you like, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. And we will see you in the next one.